Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is Aaliyah. I am the author of an upcoming light novel, Finding Destiny. But today, I'm not going to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about is Black Clover and why it should be considered top 30. So let's give a little background, okay? That's important. When you hear the term Big Three, you are instantly, in the anime community, primed to talk about Bleach, One Piece, or Naruto. And that is for a very good reason. The term Big Three wasn't just about popularity in its inception, it was marketing. You see, in the early 2000s, the Weekly Shonen Jump was promoting One Piece, Bleach, and Naruto. They were cultural juggernauts, overlapping with weekly episodes, airings, and kind of rotated their appearance on the Shonen Jump magazines. They ran simultaneously and basically dominated the manga anime market in the early 2000s. Times have changed. No longer are we, as a Western audience, crowding around the TV on a Saturday night, trying to stay up late watching Inuyasha, Dragon Ball Z, Death Note, Zatch Bell, Naruto, One Piece, getting what we could. So let's be honest. Every body of work is not always going to be top tier 100% of the time. And for Black Clover, it was the fact that Asta yelled so much in the first season. Like, he was not yelling, he was just talking loudly all the time. Because yelling is like an event. Like, I yelled. It was one instance. He was just loud the entire time. Two, the animation at a point was lackluster. Yes, it was. But they overcame that, okay? So 2x down. They overcame that. The series got so much better in its storytelling and its display of characters. The first thing I want to discuss outside of those icks was the characters. Most shonen start with their main character having some sort of deficiency. Naruto did not have any parents, and he was bad at jutsus. Asta does not have any parents, and he is not able to have magic. Luffy does not have any parents, and he wanted to be a pirate. He didn't have any powers, he didn't know how to fight, and how Ichigo got his powers is definitely a little different than the other three. The main characters of the big three, plus Black Clover, they all have some sort of deficiency. I think for Ichigo's, he didn't have any Soul Reaper powers. And each one of these protagonists has had to earn their victories. Naruto had to train. Asta had to learn how to fight without magic. Ichigo had to train to become a Soul Reaper. And Luffy had to eat a Gum Gum fruit in order to have powers and still had to train to learn how to use these powers. So in that way, they're all similar with having to learn early on in their life how to overcome adversity. Now, let's look at the world. Because as the inciting incident happens, whether Asta is able to join a squad, or Ichigo becomes a Soul Reaper, or Luffy eats a Gum Gum fruit and now he has the ability to become a pirate, we get to explore more of the world that they live in. And I think the world in Black Clover matches or even blends the villages in Naruto with the Soul Society in Bleach. We have the Clover Kingdom, the Spade Kingdom, the Heart Kingdom. All of that is packed with rich lore. It explores complex magic systems, ancient devils, multiple kingdoms with unique cultures and their own power structures within the story. Again, it's like Naruto's villages blended with the Soul Society. So, the great thing about an expansive world, right, a deeply complex, rich world where there are layers upon layers of how different kingdoms work, is you get to accumulate a mass of characters. Noelle, Nasht, Yami, Every character has time to grow, similar to One Piece or Naruto. The main cast of characters that the writers have chosen, they all have a background, they all have a history, they all come from some place dealing with their own personal issues. And Black Clover has pushed that to the forefront to help us understand their team dynamics, their motivations, how they think, and they just really bring life to the characters overall. There are some arcs or episode stints that shift the focus away from Asta completely, and they still hold the story. They're not filler episodes. They weren't created to just give the animators time to make a new episode, right? They are purposeful and they build up that particular character in some way. Because the focus is able to be shifted away from Asta, those characters, we get to explore them, we get to know them better, understand their story, and they get an opportunity to shine. It just isn't always about the main character. Let's talk about battles. Because one thing that I cannot stand is a battle that is not earned. What do I mean by this? In every battle they had to fight, you can definitely see this in Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece, is that there is an escalation in ability for the characters and also ability in the villains. The villains are not static, right? When Naruto levels up, that level up just narrowly gets him past, let's say, a villain that he's fighting. And then guess what? When he encounters the next villain, there is still some power gap. So there's always room to improve. The same thing with Asta. When you start at bottom zero and you get a little bit of power, we see how often he has to train just to be relevant in a fight. I think a lot of new gen animes is they minimize that. They minimize or even completely cut out that training arc, that period of time where they really have to lock in. And I think that's a missed opportunity because that's why one of my favorite characters is Bushybrow. We know that he has no ability to do any kind of jutsu ever, but he can still hold his own, okay? And if we didn't see how hard Rock Lee practiced and trained and fought and was confident, then his character would fall flat. We would just know that's the dude that can't do anything. And it's the same thing with, actually, it's similar with Asa because Asa is in his position. And so sometimes that's nice to see characters who overcome major obstacles and can stand with the group. That gives the fighting sequences and scenes an added level of tension. Like one of the most iconic scenes in anime is when Bushy Brow drops some weights off his legs during the tuning exams. Like if you've seen that, it was so impactful and it was so powerful. Why? Because you knew the character's deficiency. You knew that Gara had an inflated ego because he could use jutsu and he had a tailed beast. Oh no, how is Bushy Brow gonna do this? And then he drops the wigs, and you're like, oh, there's a whole nother level. Same thing when Naruto beat Neji. Like, a lot of fight scenes don't have that tension now. They don't have that tension and expectation. Like, I have been training, I have been waiting my whole life for this moment. Or I know he's better than me, I know he's stronger than me, but I have been waiting. And so when you see the character fail, you want them to do better. But when you see them win, you want to rejoice with them in their victory. So, for all those reasons, I feel like Black Clover's storytelling merit, the character accumulation, the escalation of villains, the increasing power structure, having to rank up, level up to fight the next villain in line, and the way the character was introduced, it is big three material. It is big three. Should be a part of the big three. Like, if we're going to keep that structure of how Naruto went, of how Bleach went, of how One Piece is going, then Black Clover should be considered, even if it has some glitches, because all of our favorite shows have some glitches. For me, it has the heart of a classic shonen. They they aren't making them like that anymore. I think animes who had the ability to become big three or had big three components slash ingredients or like Radiant, they don't get a lot of shine nowadays because everything is so flashy. Like quick, fast animations. People just want to see people squabble. They don't really want to have a background and a story behind it. So I know solo leveling is popular, but anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you.